Shab, please, your 2 cents.
I'm too sensitive?
Your 2 cents.
Please, Rob, your 2 cents.
Your 2
My
cents.
2 cents.
Because you care about things.
I do care about things.
I've heard you talk about the meats and the vegetarianism. Do you have an incel version of that? Do you guys have people that you fight against, like we fight against, for race or sexism in the vegetarian world? Are there targets?
The thing that I was surprised at when
I'm so sorry, we're out of time.
When
That's our show.
Go ahead.
I didn't have a punchline anyway. No. The thing that I was the most surprised of when I went vegan publicly was the amount of hate that I got, which I was like, what? Why would you? The minute I would say something, what's that?
All sides?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
You know, like I mean, I don't know what
Democrat, liberal, gay, straight.
Oh yeah, for sure. Mostly dudes.
Okay.
Mostly dudes. Like if I said something like, "Why is hunting still a thing?" You know, I'm anti-zoo. You know, I'm anti-puppy farm and that kind of stuff. And you know,
Farm.
I say, you know, like to consider an option instead of having bacon on your ice cream, and there's just lots and lots of hate. Don't tell me what to do, and I don't like being, you know, just like they felt like they were being attacked because I said this is important to me. I used to not think this way. I had a click inside my head that made me understand like what I was eating had a history to it that wasn't just like just showed up. Like there was suffering behind it, and I didn't want to be responsible for that. And I got a lot of anger towards me, just wanting me to shut up.
Do you notice that when people stand up for rights, there is this? I didn't notice this in the past, maybe because I wasn't there, but there is this thing. People immediately think about what they're going to have to do without.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I say something that hits too close to home, like, yeah, you know, you put bacon on your ice cream. Did something have to live in pain and fear and die horribly for you to have that little bit of on your ice cream? How was it worth?
Don't we
trade?
also, though, at the very root of it?
Isn't that just shaming someone, though? Wouldn't someone then feel attacked? What you had to kill something to eat dessert? Like, that is attacking someone.
Well, tell me how to not shame somebody. I mean,
Okay.
to consider like where it came from. I mean,
Because that is the trick. The trick really
what
is.
is the trick? You know, I mean, I haven't done it right because I get people angry, and I don't want to shame anybody because that's the quickest way to have somebody shut you down or yell at you or turn you off or ignore you or whatever. I used to think one way, and then when I realized what I was doing and becoming a part of, it was a big turn for me. So
Was it imagery or did you see processing?
It was a friend of mine died, and I started looking at life and death differently. Okay. And I got my dog, who I adore, and I remember like I started posting puppy pictures, ironically, on Twitter. But then I started admitting I actually really like this. Yeah. And then I started putting all kinds of animals on there. And then somebody said, "You're obviously vegetarian. You love animals." And somebody says, "He's not vegetarian. He still eats meat. Rob, why don't you?" You know, calling me out on it. And I was like, well, yeah. I say I love animals. Why am I being a part of this? And it just made me do a lot of research, and then something just clicked inside of me, and then I could not be a part of it anymore. And it's just something that I feel because I've had this experience when I've, you know, wrote about it or posted something about it. There's like a bunch of people that have written me and said, you know, I never thought of it that way until I started seeing your post. I started reconsidering a lot of stuff, and I'm now vegetarian, or I'm now vegan, or whatever, and I'm thinking differently, and I felt like I accomplished something. So I guess that's the right way to do it. But I don't want to shame anybody. Sure. I mean, I don't want anybody to feel bad. I mean, like I used to eat meat for 45 years. My parents still eat meat. You know, Kate still eats fish. Shaming anybody is not going to do anything. No one's going to stop it.
I wonder if there's a part of us that has a response to discipline. Because what I heard you say was that you took an idea on and then put it right to use immediately.
Well, we have a response to change, like willy-nilly change. So we the same amount of energy that you feel going into a force field because I want to get a little bit underneath this, because we could talk about the social dynamics of like catching more flies with honey and like, oh, the way you should do it is to prepare a nice pasta dish on Instagram and tell people how happy you are while you're eating and lead by example. But I want to get underneath that, because then the Malcolm X of veganism would say, fuck that, I'm not going to play nice just because of blah, blah, blah. I think way down underneath it is basically we don't like people when they're activated.
Preaching.
And it's not because we want them to fail. It's because we're all like these sperm cells, like headed for what we perceive as the same egg, maybe, or we just, or maybe it's just more simple than that. Like a primate
survival jealousy
needs to keep what happened yesterday going today. That's part of your job as a primate, and the other half of your job is to want to be a hero.
Yep.
So if someone's popping off next to you about how anything should be different, you're hearing, it's not that you have ill will for that person. It's just that it's like, well, first of all, you're fucking with half my job, which is to make sure yesterday happens again today. 1,000 examples of that make you a hero, by the way, like being a good person, just like, there's certain traditions that actually are that we praise people for honoring, like knowing the alphabet and stuff like that. But then you're also fucking with the other half of my job, because to the extent that I wanted to like bring change, I wanted to bring it to other people. I don't want to fucking be told that it's time to change it. That makes me feel like it feels like sin to us, which I kind of admire about our species.
But how do you do what I want to do, which is not make anybody feel bad?
Well,
I want somebody to.
My very boring answer is that you shouldn't do anything differently. The only thing for your own personal satisfaction would be to not take it personally, the reaction that it causes. Because before I would tell you, I would have to be your vegan evangelical coach to come up to a level where I was like, the best way to do it to keep people from throwing tomatoes at you is to blah blah blah, and that would really be about manipulating people.
I'm fine with the tomatoes. I'm more concerned about like Spencer, who felt like I was shaming somebody because of the ice cream bacon analogy. I mean, like I don't want.
Spencer's just pointing out that an activist, by definition, is always going to cause shame.
I don't know that's necessarily true.
Well,
I think that it's hard
Spencer,
to argue for not eating animals if your argument is because it hurts animals, because that's telling someone that they're not being compassionate enough. I think there's other reasons that you can argue for it that don't involve that, and I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying that like there are more than one ways to advocate that aren't inherently attacking someone, but a very common one is a way that assumes everyone thinks the same way as you do, and that way you say something that then could unintentionally attack someone who doesn't assume the same things as you are.
My sister, who is amazing activist, right? What she always likes to do is trade. So if you're trying to get something out about why someone should be a vegan, you're supposed to say your high blood pressure will no longer be an issue. It's to give them the power of choice instead of saying, because that is everybody's now, look, people see through that shit immediately.
Yeah.
If you do that with race, they get even angrier because they're like, well, I don't want to dole out concessions.
My feeling about that is
but that's one tactic.
Is like, okay, well, I'm saying it would be if we were empathetic to all life, maybe we would be empathetic to each other.
That's true.
And I think, if we're going, well, I stopped eating meat, I don't care that the animal goes through whatever, but I stopped doing it because I'm thinner now. Seems like not a very noble.
Here's how my therapist defines trust. Says, do you believe that the person has your best interests at heart? It doesn't even have to mean that they're like they would take a bullet for you or anything. It's like, do you think that they have your best interests at heart? Which, like, okay, so I don't trust those guys that have a 6-pack on the back of my car, like as I come out to the 7-Eleven parking lot. Like, I don't trust them. Like, I have a few, they're behaving in a way that makes me think that they don't have my best interests at heart. So they can say everything they want about why I don't trust them, but they're strangers and I don't believe
Spencer,
it yet.
Why I want to know, like, why can't I say you shouldn't eat meat because animals feel pain and fear death, like
I don't
me?
say you can't
Because
say
the person
that.
doesn't trust
that's
you that you have their
someone.
best interest at heart, because what he's saying is that the inherent implication is that they don't have compassion.
Right.
So they're saying, if I let this person into the parking lot of my 7-Eleven's life, like, I could get mugged. I could end up exposing myself. Like, if I say, okay, I'm interested in being more open-minded about this topic, are you going to enter the lobby of my life and then just start moving fucking plants around? Because you might be a shitty decorator. You could be the rightest person in the world about how my lobby needs to be unlocked, but you may suck at decorating lobbies, or you may be the best fucking lobby decorator for someone in a completely different building. And like, in any case, like I have to stay me and grow. Yeah. I can't just like fucking let you in like a fucking virus and reprogram my nucleus, or I'm a bad person that could end up hurting other people. So I need to trust you, and like, so when and then we have these like social cues that we can use to let people know that they can trust us. That's, I think, to me, that's job number one in all interaction, is like, try to let the person know that, as far as you're concerned, like, you're not out to hurt them. But that's hard, because if you just say that, that's what a serial killer says. Like, Ted Bundy wore a cast.
I don't know. I get a lot of like you think you're better than me because you are like that. I was like, no. Because,
right. Well, that's why I said that, is because you were bringing up that people give you a lot of pushback, and so if people are giving you a lot of pushback, I experience it myself. I'm sure I've tweeted stuff back at you, and that's what I was experiencing in those circumstances where it's like, yeah, this is what you're doing. You're throwing a lamb into a wood chipper. It's like, well, no, I'm hiring someone to do that for me. It's not the same. But, so that's me pushing back at an argument that you made. And so that's fine if you want pushback, but you were saying that it's bad that that happens to you. And so that's why
I was saying I
responded
was
that way.
surprised.
Right, yeah.
Which I was like, wow, I didn't realize that it was not just me saying you should stop doing this. It was just me saying I'm vegan. It would be like just being at a restaurant with a bunch of people, and then I say I'm vegan, and then I would pull out my wallet, and they go, "But you got a leather wallet." Everybody jumps on that, and I'd be like, "Actually, it's not leather. It's
leather.
It's not." I made sure to get it, like, because I don't want to be a hypocrite. That's the big thing.
What we know about
that's why I stopped with dairy, because if I'm going to go vegetarian and I do a little bit of research, you should really go vegan all the way.
There is,
but it was the hardest thing about it. I'm sorry. The hard thing about it was, which I think a lot of people go through. It's like, I don't think I can live without a hamburger. I don't think I can live without cheese. That was the thing that I was like, really? I can't? That's not really a good excuse. And then it took maybe 3 weeks for me to break out of that habit.
And this is why,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is why I think it's related to discipline, because your ability to take on a new idea and execute it has something to do with your discipline. When you bring it up to people, I think they immediately feel called out on their personal discipline. So it's a difficult place to start. I also think, like I said, I think people want to know, what is the benefit to even entertaining the ideas that you're giving me? So I think that is the game sometimes,
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm on this. One of the reasons I'm fascinated by this is I'm on the Facebook a lot. I'm in a Facebook group that is Los Feliz, Echo Park, Silver Lake. It's the neighborhood group, right?
Sorry about that.
And people will get on and do exactly what we just did, where somebody will say, I don't like when people ride their bikes on the sidewalk. And you get pushback. And it's the most interesting.
It's any point of view almost, you know. And it's
Yeah.
we go like when I see it all the time now with like the woman thing. Like when somebody goes like, this is a profile of a woman who says when she was 13, Johnny Depp. I'm making this up. Don't sue me. I'm riffing one. Johnny Depp picked her up as a hitchhiker and he fingered her and then he made her be his personal assistant and he never thanked her and she got pregnant and he talked her into an abortion. And it's like this whole like the part of your brain that goes from that's hot goss to like I gotta police this. I think it's linked somehow. And I just started putting road flares on it where I'm like, wait, if this woman who's 40 saying when she was 13 Johnny Depp did this or whatever, like if I don't police it, if I don't pipe up and go, give me a break. First of all, I believe you. Second of all, like, why are you hitchhiking if you didn't want that? You know, it's almost like, we hate women, but also like there could be a deeper problem here that's actually like just becomes racism, sexism, closed-mindedness, dogmatism, fucking like just general bad humanity. That hasn't been tested at this many RPMs because there's been no internet.
There's a little conditioning going on.
Where we just like we need to mimetically evolve a little bit to get the same way that we realized carbs and glutens or whatever we go through phases. We're capable as a society of going, you know what's bad? This thing that you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
We have this tendency when we receive communication, we're running a little bit of an outdated force field protocol where it's still just as dangerous as ever to trust anything you hear. But there's a difference between not trusting things, being a skeptic, and being a cop, you know, like lashing out and reacting as if you say nothing and the person next to you says, I deserve all the pants. If you say nothing, do your pants teleport off your body?
Right.
Because the bad guys certainly are afraid of that. And you know what? That's why they're bad guys, because they're right. Because what they're afraid of is if everybody starts saying, I want the pants to be evenly distributed, they will lose some of their pants.
Yeah.
They have a valid fear. That makes them the Death Star. We have an irrational fear of it when we're dealing on a human level. Like we just don't want to, like, we think that if we don't get mad when you get cut off in traffic, that everyone's going to start cutting you off in traffic, and there's just no science to back that up. In fact, what's going to happen when you fly into a fucking...
It's actually... Well, no, you finished that idea because I think you're going
to cause more...
You're going to get more of that behavior.
You're also going to lose your general fucking... appreciation of good driving. You know, like I feel myself getting worn down listening to true crime podcasts where I'm just like, boy, the bad guys really kind of just get away with it, don't they? So if I have to hear one more detective on his 68th birthday with half of his face removed from some skin cancer procedure that he was barely able to pay for with his pension, explaining to me that because some dude is about to get injected with chemicals tomorrow on his 90th birthday after raping and eating like 48 people for 70 years. Like I just... And that justice has been served, sooner or later they don't get away with it. I'm like, he got away with it. They get away with it.
The guy they just caught in California who was a cop who started killing people as a cop. He was a cop.
The internet is...
And they found out about it way too late.
The internet is showing us something that we were able to... We evolve a certain amount every time you invent the campfire, people come around, you invent plumbing, you get exposed to more and more people. There's varying levels of internetness to humanity. Each level, we're like, fuck, so many new people, so many new ideas. I'm going to go fucking insane. This is crazy. My neighbor used to be a bear and now it's this fucking Arab. I don't know what is happening to me. Like, I got to figure this out. Like, we always then just barely like it'll be a profit or it'll be some kind of movement or it'll be a horrible collapse and a rebuilding. Like, we'll keep up with it. The basic leitmotif is we just keep learning in increasing resolutions that there's more bad than good in the world. We can see it more. If you invent a camera that can see everything in the universe, it's gonna pick up more bad than good.
Yeah, and we're living in a real-time library where instead of it being something that we would have read about 10 years ago and been like, that was fascinating, we're actually like, holy shit, we know everything about that shooting. We know everything about that genocide. We were there. We have pictures of it.
And we get to watch the survivors argue with the other survivors, and the survivor then turns out to be a bigot later. And meanwhile, this basketball player that nailed a free throw and he was a meme for 20 minutes. Now he turned out to have dogfights in his basement, and it's just like everything. Bill Cosby's it's like the camera is everywhere. But we're seeing the surface of reality. We just gotta not let it give us a bad trip. It's okay. It's
overwhelming.
This is what we look like. We're a squirming mass of flesh. There's a lot of sebum and wiry hairs and zits and nipples that have no reason, and this is the naked body of humanity, and it's not a wonderland. It looks like Dan Harmon naked, and there's
nipples without reason.
Nipples Without Reason is a British band.
I was realizing this. I was watching some movie that had something to do with good versus
Flash
evil.
Gordon.
And I was like, I think part of it might be because I get really disillusioned when I think about how evil's more powerful than good. It outnumbers it and all this stuff. But it's that's actually only a reaction to the false impression that anybody ever wanted me to think that good and evil were this fucking Rocky versus Drago, even matched.
Which is a fantasy.
If you thought about good as being about 1/5 as powerful as evil in almost any context, 1/5 the size, 1/5 the advantage, because if it's good, and it's not evenly matched with the amount of like my therapist says that negative shit affects your brain 5 times more than positive shit. Somebody says I like that shirt, and it's it just burns off like fucking flambe on a fancy restaurant.
We evolved to have to survive danger, so it's is that a grizzly bear? Yeah. Probably not. You can't say probably not. You have to say, oh God, that's definitely a rock that might 1% chance be a grizzly bear, and then
we're not the progeny of the chimps that were
I hate to be a Smurf.
We need to give ourselves a break here.
I hate to be a Smurf, but we are also pre-wired to seek out joy. That's
we are pre-wired to
seek out joy.
Yeah. We are, but I'll tell you one thing we get a huge amount of joy from is being the first person to call it when there's something to be alarmed about. We have a lot of our joy is tied into alarmism.
We amplify negative outcomes. If you say, hey, I'll flip you a coin, and if I flip a coin, you win $2, and if you lose the flip, you give me 50 cents. It's you could do that all day, and then on average, you will win a ton of money, but people will not see it that way. People will be like, no, I could lose some serious money. It's people have a psychological tendency to think that risks are way worse. We definitely still do seek incentives and find
but
things.
To your point, I think, what you're saying is, but that we're not going from giraffes don't have 50% good, 50% bad perception. They're just thinking about leaves and shit, and they're the worst. We graduated to having a concept of good and bad, and we just keep finding out that we perceive good a lot less. But we should still look at it as a gigantic leap from the hippopotamus, which doesn't give a fuck who's good and who's bad, and what's good and what's bad. The hippo has no taste bud in its mouth for that, and we have 1,000. We just have 8,000 more that taste bad.
Sometimes we get addicted to the fine-tuning of our existence.
Got to change those couches. It's all dirty and stuff.
We're an alarmist primate species that learned to adapt a mild amount of pack hunting.
If we see a couch,
because we were
move
getting
it.
out hunted by a biological killing machine.
Couch hunters.
What?
The biological killing machines.
What?
Tuned by man to find and hunt couches.
Yeah.